They are.
Hi guys, I am so sorry. I was on a Google Meet instead of a Zoom.
That's okay.
Gotta love all the technology. It was originally assigned to Destiny and got transferred to me. Um, but we're here. How are y'all doing?
We're great.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. Let's see. Let me here. Okay. All right. I think we're sharing and good. Um, So I'm kind of going to be bouncing back and forth between my slides and the actual Magic School platform so that we can kind of work alongside each other live. So you're not walking away with things to do, but instead you're going to build out some rooms and tools with me. So if y'all can just drop in the chat your role. I know y'all know each other's role or content, but if you could drop it in for me, um, it would kind of help me try to use some examples that are specific to the people we have with us. And because I'm a little late while y'all are typing, I'm going to introduce myself. I am Alicia Sledge. I'm a professional learning facilitator at Magic School. I was a classroom teacher in Charlotte and then stayed here ever since. And so I was a classroom teacher, an instructional facilitator, and then I started working for the state of North Carolina in our new teacher program. So working on retaining teachers and preventing burnout, which is how I found Magic School. And I've decided I should just do Magic School instead of that. So I can hopefully try to increase teacher retention across the board. When I'm not presenting, I spend all my time with that beautiful kid on the bottom. That's my son that just started kindergarten in a French immersion program. So we're learning how to do school and speak French at the same time. And I know neither one of them. So, it's a process. We do have some norms for the session. Some apply and some do not, based on the size of our session. So the first is mics off. There are not too many of us here. There are 10 participants, but if y'all want to come off mute at any time and ask questions or give suggestions, feel free. It's a pretty small group, so definitely feel free to come off mute if you need to. I do encourage you to actively participate. That could be um, in the chat. So, like I already see y'all drop it in the chat, your roles, your content, and that's definitely helpful. But also actively participate by opening up Magic School. And I see Bob put the link to Magic School in the chat as soon as I got here. So, you're going to want a tab open for Magic School so that after I show you how to do something, you can go practice it on your side so that you're walking away with a room and tools that are ready to go. I want you to get curious on what this looks like for you and your role and the students you work with. I want you to imagine the student impact. So they're getting to engage with AI, which generally students are really excited about to begin with, but we're giving it to them in a way that is safe and prepared and intentional. And so imagining the student impact when they interact with AI is really, really awesome and fun. And then last but not least, and I saw someone's camera doesn't work and it's totally okay. If you can connect with your camera on, it is helpful for me to kind of gauge if I see really confused faces. I know I need to adjust, or if I see heads nodding, I feel like we're on the right track. So it is helpful to have cameras on. Um, it's also helpful for me not to just talk to blank screen. So thank you for cutting your cameras on. It helps me out. So our agenda for the next 45-ish minutes looks like this, but this is not like definite. So if there's something that's not on here that you want to make sure we talk about, please, please, please drop it in the chat or come off mute and let me know, because this is definitely your session, not mine. I am just here to help. So I want to talk about why Magic School for students. I would like to talk about how to navigate Magic Student. So looking at how to organize it, find the tools, find the resources we have. We're going to look at how to build student tools and create student rooms. We're going to talk very briefly about best practices for students using AI. We're going to look at what students see when they log in and see the tools. And then we're going to look at what teachers see after they assign the room to the students and students are kind of getting engaged. And then we're going to look at how to save those tools in room templates so that we're not recreating things every time. And not every colleague has to create rooms. We can kind of beg, borrow, and steal so that we don't all have to work so hard. Again, if there's anything extra you want me to make sure I talk about, definitely let me know so that we can make sure we cover it. So why AI for students? Because it's 2025 and AI is everywhere. Whether we want them using it or not, they're going to find a way. And so Magic School provides a place where students can use AI and interact with AI in a way that doesn't feed them the information or do the work for them, but more so fills the gap and supports them in their learning so that they can access the content. So what is it for students? So if you're in this meeting, I'm assuming you're already pretty familiar, hopefully a little familiar with Magic School for Teachers. It is very similar for students. So if you used it for the teacher side, you know there are a ton of teacher tools. You put in the input, it generates the output. The same thing works for our students. So there are about 50 tools that are powered by AI that we can give our students access to. They do not automatically get access to 50 tools. So I had a teacher the other day and she said, I do not want my students to have that much access. And that's okay. They only get access to what you give them. So when you create a room, you get to choose what tools you want your students to have access to and which ones they don't. So there are 50 options, but it doesn't mean you have to use all of them. Some best practices for AI, and then we're going to go ahead and get logged in and start navigating it together. We always want to check for bias and accuracy. We know there are gaps in technology and gaps in AI, so we want to double check it before and for student side almost after, right? We can't prevent the chat from saying anything, but we can review what the chats look like when they talk to the students to make sure it is accurate information. The 80-20 approach means that AI can do about 80% of the heavy lifting, but you're going to have to fill about 20% of the gap. This looks like feeding it the information so it can do its job. So feeding it the content, the standards, some of the context about your students before the students get in and access it. Your judgment definitely matters. AI is a digital tool, but it does not know the students you're working with, your school expectations, district guidelines. So definitely use your judgment when developing these tools in rooms. Know the limits of AI. We're constantly training and updating AI. Our engineering team works constantly to make sure things are up to date. But sometimes something that happened on the news yesterday might not be in the chat bot today. And so just knowing that there are some limits that we might have to fill the gaps. And then last but not least is protecting privacy. Magic School has a lot of I don't know the word, like safety features, I guess, to make sure that information that goes into Magic School does not get out of Magic School. It definitely tries to be safe, but it doesn't mean it always is because technology is technology. So just try to keep personal information, both for you and your students, out of Magic School. If they're logging in through Clever, which I believe your school, yes, I see Bob saying yes. So yes, they will log in through Clever. So Clever and Magic School are both safe places and they both talk to each other in a safe way. And so I don't mean they can't put their name as Alicia when they log in. I just mean you don't want them in the chat saying, I live at 5129 Main Street, right? So just making sure that you and your students know how to protect privacy. All right, we're going to get logged in. And I think I saw in the chat, we are logging in with the Magic School link. You already have an account. You're logging in with your Google account. And that should take you to your work account for Magic School. Once you get logged in, if you can do a reaction or a something in the chat that says, I am good and logged in and ready to start. Oh, I see a thumbs up from Kara. She's good. Perfect. Bob is sending rockets. He is good. All right. It looks like most people are pretty good. If you're not logged in yet, you still have a couple minutes before you have a task from me. And so you can keep working on getting logged in, but you're going to log in through your Google account. All right. So I'm going to switch over to okay, yes, just wanted to make sure y'all were switching with me. I am switching over to my Magic School account so that you can follow right alongside me. So this is the general homepage that everyone goes to. It's automatically set to the teacher side of Magic School, but we're going to be looking at the student side. So on the left where the main menu is here, we're going to be looking at this Magic Student, tools, rooms, and resources today. So I'm going to start with the resource button. I know if you're like me and very type A, you want to start at the student tools. We're not going to do that. We're going to start down here with resources because the resource section gives you kind of a glimpse of what your options are. What are some tools and rooms and what it even looks like before you go into building it yourself. So when you click into resources, you see these videos across the top. These are very quick little tutorial videos that you can use to get more familiar with Magic Student. So if you log out of today's session and you're like, I don't remember how to set up that room, it's okay, there's a video for it. So this is a good place to kind of reference if you need some additional guidance later. Then we have student room templates underneath that. And this is kind of magic. I think it's magic at least because it can save you a ton of planning time. So I want you to look through these templates and see if there's a template that may apply to the content that you teach. So I'm going to use this read aloud room for my example real quick. Next to read aloud room, you'll see like a new window button. And when you click that, it opens up a new window with that room that you can interact with as a student. So you can just see what does this room even look like for read aloud, and how might my students interact with it. Now this one is designed for chapter 1 of The Giver. If I teach first grade, that doesn't really apply, but the concept of a room that is a read aloud room and gives some follow-up questions for each section of the text is something that I could use. So I'm going to go back here. After I've explored a room, now you can pick any of these rooms. You definitely don't have to pick read aloud. I can steal this room by just clicking add to room. And it's called Read Aloud Room. I'm just going to leave that title. I'm going to add that room and it's just going to show up in my rooms. And then I can go in and edit it if I want to. So I can go into that chat bot and it's not going to be The Giver. We're actually going to do The Very Hungry Caterpillar because that's my son's favorite book right now. Caterpillar. I think that's how I spell that. I'm going to drop it down to a first grade level. I can just go in and edit this content that's already designed for me, and save it to a room that's still a read aloud room. I can keep the bulk of it and just tweak along the way. So I'm going to pause. I want you to go to that resource button. I want you to look at these templates and I want you to pick one you can open as a student and one you can steal as a room. So I'm going to give you 2 minutes to explore those room templates and then we'll come back together. And I will be checking in that chat in case there are any questions or anything. I see someone said they cannot find how to get into a room. So if you're looking to get into like that room template just to explore it, you're going to be clicking that. I wonder, let me see if you, yeah, you can see my mouse. You're going to be clicking that new window button there next to the room that you want to open and try out as a student. Or if you wanted to steal it into a room, you would add it to your rooms. I hope that answered your question. Okay, that was 2 minutes. So definitely not enough time to get in and customize things, but hopefully enough time for you to open a couple of those rooms maybe and see what options might look like. What are some rooms you might want to design based on your content and your students? So we are going to, okay. Oh, okay. I see your message. That's fine. Um, okay, so I'm gonna switch back live. So we looked at this resource button here. We have some tutorials, we have some rooms that are already created that we can steal. Now we're going to go in and build something ourselves. So we are going to click into that student tools section. There are 50 tools. So the first time you get in here, you're probably going to want to just scroll and see what the options are, especially depending on your content. Some of these are very content specific, and some of them are a little more generic that you can build into any content once you put in like your standards document. So I am going to open up a tool and start to fill it out with you. So I'm going to build a tutor tool. So I'm going to type in tutor. I'm going to do an AI tutor. When I open up a tool, the left side is what I am putting in as the teacher. So how I'm like developing the tool itself. And then the right side is a preview of what the students would interact with. So on the left side, I'm going to say AI tutor for ratios. The description, get tutored on. I'm going to change that to ratios. This is going to be for sixth grade content. What topic do you want the tutor to help with? Ratios, especially word problems. If I want to upload a file, I can. So like an unpacked standard document, an end of unit assessment, even my lesson plan for ratios, I can upload here so that the tutor is aligned to the same content that I'm teaching in class. There is the prompt assist button, which you may be familiar with on the teacher side of things, but prompt assist takes my prompt that I put in, so ratios, dot, 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 especially word problems, and it makes it better. It adds some more details. I usually just accept their prompt because they do a better job than I do. Down here, there are additional fields where I can add in any additional information and change the read aloud voice for my students when they're doing read aloud. This might be where I put in additional details like we've been working on ratios for 1 month. Students should have a strong foundation. Or students have never seen ratios before. It's the first time we're introducing this content. So I can add as many details as I want on this side here. And then on the right side, I can start a preview and it'll show you what this AI tutor interaction would look like when students get logged in. So it's starting with, can you tell me what you think a ratio is? No clue. I can interact with it and pretend to be a student and see what kind of feedback it gives me before I launch it to a room or launch it to my students. So after I've filled in my content on the left and I've practiced on the right, I like this tool. I'm going to save it to a room. So on the top right, I'm going to click save to room and I'm going to call this sixth grade ratios. The reason I'm being super specific about it being ratios is because this AI tutor is only trained in ratios. If I wanted it to be trained in all sixth grade math, that's fine. And then I wouldn't have to give it a specific title. but this room I'm just going to use for my ratio unit. Now that I have edited my tool, I can save it into a room. I can also add more tools with that manage button. So I can add new tools to this room. That was an AI tutor, but maybe I also want a quiz me tool where it can quiz them on ratios, or a RANA tool, or a research tool, or a data collection tool. Any tools that I want to be in my 6th grade ratio class or my 6th grade ratio room, I can continue to build out and continue to add to this room. So I'm going to do the same thing, quiz yourself on ratios. I'm just shifting it into my content. Still 6th grade ratios and word problems. Again, I can add files. I can let students decide how many problems or make sure that they do 10. Totally my choice. And then on the right side, I can launch that into a preview and see what the Quiz Me feature would look like for ratios. And then once I like it, I can save it to my room. So I'm gonna pause. I'm gonna give y'all about 2 minutes to go in. I don't want to go that far. To go in and build a tool. So choose any of your student tools, open it up and customize that left side, and then practice it on the right side. And then you can save it to a room, and then we'll continue building out that room when we come back. And I'll be monitoring the chat, or y'all can come off mute if you have any questions. But for now, just pick 1, maybe 2 tools to open up and fill in your content. All right, that was 2 minutes. So hopefully you were able to open up a tool, customize that left side, and then add it to a room on the right side so that you were able to take that tool, the generic tool, and make sure it's specific to the grades or contents that you teach. So I am going to shift back to the room side. So we talked about the left side, but now we're going to look at the room specifically. So once you built a tool and you clicked save to room, it should have taken you to this page. It usually pops up with invite your students, right? But we're not ready to invite our students yet. We want to make sure that our room is ready to go first. So you can just close out that invitation section and we can just pull it back up when we're ready. So on the room page, manage room is where you will build out any additional tools in that room. So if I want to add a new tool, I'll just click plus, type it in, and edit it until it is, until I have all the tools I'm going to be using in that room that are ready to go. On the student page here, this is where you're going to see your students get logged in. So you'll see all your student names show up. Insights will start to collect some data once your students get logged in. And Manage Room is where we've kind of been exploring with building in those tools. On the top right, Moderate is where you can kind of see what's happening in the rooms, or if you need to check to see like what someone is chatting about. Preview as student lets you explore your room before you launch it to your students. So when I click preview as student, it will open that room I just designed in a new window. It will make students accept, I'm going to use AI in the right way. It's a tool, it doesn't replace your thinking, all that good stuff. They have to acknowledge it every time they enter a new room. And then you'll see that the students have access to these two tools. They can open up Tutor or they can open up QuizMe and they can practice going back and forth with the tools. So that preview as student is a really good option for you to trial and error the whole room instead of just trying specific, like the one tool when you were creating it. On the top right, you also have this active button. This means that this room is active and ready to go. If I need to pause or lock a room, this might be like the ratio unit is over. So I might pause or lock it because we're moving on to geometry now. And then I can switch it back active at the end of the unit or the end of the grade when we're reviewing all of our content. I can activate all my rooms again. Then you have your invite student button. So when you click into invite student, they have the option of joining with a URL. Most people don't use Classroom anymore or the QR code. If y'all have like Clever or ClassLink, I lost my pictures at this point. Usually I would see, oh, where did my pictures of y'all go? Oh, here you are. Let's see if I see Bob nodding. If you have Clever or ClassLink, yes.
We have Clever.
Clever, perfect. So once students are logged into Clever, then they can join with that URL or QR code and it will merge their Clever account and their Magic School together. So they're not logging in as complete strangers and choosing their names because that can get really fun. So once you are ready to invite students, you will get a QR code or a link and students will log in that way. You can copy it, open a new tab, paste it in. This is where I'm saying things could get interesting, but if they are logged in through their Clever, it will automatically have their name here, but you can just put in student one or whatever it might be that you want to pretend to be a student today so that you can kind of interact with your tools and explore, not as a preview, but as a real student. On the top right, where these little dots are, you can also manage room tools here, duplicate this room. So if I want a sixth grade ratios for my block 1 and a sixth grade ratios for my block 2, so all of my students are not on the same room, I can duplicate it instead of creating it again. I can archive or delete the room if I'm done with it. I can also manage co-teachers. So if I have an EC or ESL teacher coming into my room, or even if I share students with someone, I can add co-teachers to that room so that now everyone has access to that room and those students. You can also share a template of a room. So if I'm really proud of my ratio template, I can share this with the other sixth grade math teachers so that everybody has access. Or like we looked at the read aloud room, if there are multiple teachers that are going to be reading the giver, then we can all use that room template so we don't have to create it from scratch. So those are some of your room kind of feature options where you can go in and edit the room, activate it or pause or lock it, invite your students, and moderate. So I am going to invite you all to join my room as students. And you're going to have to be not great students because I want to show you how that moderation feature works in making sure that if they do something inappropriate or say something inappropriate, it is flagged. So I would like you all to go ahead and click that link in the chat. And that should open you up to my 6th grade ratio room. I'm seeing names on the top saying, hey, they're joining your room. So that's a great sign. If I'm the teacher in the classroom, I know we are on the right track. So when they're joining my room, I'll click over to the student tab and I'll see all of my students joining. Now, because you're not logging in through your Clever and you and me are on very different organizations, you had to type your name in, but students will not have to do that. It should just automatically link to their account. So I want you to open up either the tutor or the quiz me. I want you to have a couple appropriate interactions, or you can be Bob, right? Bob's name already showed up on my account. It says ratios are stupid and Bob was flagged. So at this time, I can go over here to active and I can lock Bob's room. And now Bob can't do anything. I have shut down his magic school. Bob no longer has access. So I encourage you, I'll go ahead and activate Bob again so his feelings don't get hurt. But maybe I just pulled him aside and said, listen, Bob, I saw what you did. Ratios are not stupid. Let me tell you how you're going to use ratios in real life. But you can go back and forth, and I encourage you, go ahead and flag some stuff. Don't say anything too terrible, but say something that will show a flag so that you know that you can kind of trust the process, right? You can trust that your students are out there doing the right thing. On my homepage, I can see that Mike is working on the AI tutor, Bob is working on AI tutor, everyone else is working on the Quiz Me feature, which is really interesting for me as a teacher to know what tools are being used a lot and maybe what tools are not being used as much. All right. So you're probably looking at another tab because you're interacting with these tools, but I want you to click back over to the Zoom so that you can see what this insight looks like from the teacher perspective. So when I'm in students, I'll see all my students that are active. And then once y'all log off, you will no longer be active. I'll see my student name show up. I'll see any flags that happened and who I need to be following up with. Michelle, dumb was not a bad enough word. Dumb did not get flagged on my side. So you were trying to be a little naughty, but not naughty enough for Magic School to say you're not doing the right thing. So Bob did get flagged. I need to follow up on that. It also shows me their last message. So like Carrie is putting in a ratio 2 to 3. I can tell she is on track, right? She is really working. Sarah said, can you give me a harder one? So Sarah needs to be challenged. So this last message gives you a really quick, easy kind of preview on what your students are doing currently in the moment so that you're not having to look at it later. You can just see it as it's happening. And then on that right side, like I said, I can see what tools we're using and maybe what tools we're not, right? If I had Raina in this room and not a single person was using Raina, I might reflect on, is Raina a tool I need in this room, or do they not know how to use Raina? And then this active button next to all of your students, just like I can go up here and pause the whole room. So I'll go ahead and do it so you all can see that. If I pause the whole room, that means everybody's room is paused. So now when you're trying to access those tools, it's going to cut you off and not let you do it. I might pause the room if I need to kind of reset class expectations or whatever it might be, and then I can just switch back to active. But I also have that availability down here to pause individuals or lock individuals. So I can pause or lock Bob for his flag, and then when he gets back on track, I can switch him right back to active. So that's a nice little feature on the side here. And then on the right, I can access the student join information again. So like if he gets logged off, I can help him get logged back in or remove them from the room. I don't really know why or when I would have to do that. Maybe if they have a duplicate account, but you really won't have to delete your students. Insights is the next little tab. Right now, there's probably no insights yet. It hasn't updated yet. We just got logged in, but Insights does give you some guidance on how interactive your students were in the room. And then we already looked at that manage room button. So I am going to pause. You I want you to try to log into your room as a student. I did get a little feedback in my last session that it didn't work because some districts require you to sign in through an SSO. But if not, I want you to go ahead and go to your room that you created, click that join URL button, and then open a URL on a new tab so that you can log in as your own student. You can play around with your tools and you can see that on the dashboard. So go ahead and log in as your own student for your own room and interact a little bit so you can see your name show up on that dashboard. And then I'm going to give y'all about 2 minutes to interact as a pretend student in your own room and see how that comes across on your teacher dashboard. And then we'll come back together. And as always, feel free to drop stuff in the chat or come off mute if you have any specific questions. All right, that was 2 minutes. So hopefully you were able to log in as a pretend student, have some interactions with those tools, and see them show up on the teacher dashboard side of things. Sometimes it gives people a hard time, but nobody jumped in the chat. So I'm hoping that it still let you log in as a pretend student to interact with them. All right. So we have about 15 minutes left. I do, oh, someone's in the waiting room. I do want you to drop in the chat. What are you most excited about using in the coming weeks? It says, tell us about your rap battle, because that's one of the options that students really enjoy is planning a rap battle through AI. But what are you excited about trying out? Is it a specific student tool? Is it about just building a room and seeing how they interact with it? Is it the teacher dashboard side of things? What are you most excited about trying out? And then I'm going to pause for questions. Just building a room. Yeah, it takes a lot of practice. And the best way to learn how to do it is just clicking the tools, filling it out, and adding it to a room. Just trying it out. Building a room to help kids review. Yes. And they're getting different questions every time. And so it switches it up. You don't have to be super creative and come up with new ideas all the time. Okay. Are there any specific tools on, not tools, Lord, any specific questions On any of the student tools, maybe tools you would start with, tools for specific content, any questions on rooms and the student and teacher side of things, or any questions about the resource options. You can drop in the chat or you can come off mute. Career Exploration Center is really cool. I did not see how you copied the read aloud room. Cool. Okay, so I'll go back to that resource section where we can steal a room that's already made. So I am going to, let's pick a different one. Let's do language practice room here. So I can open a new window with that button here and test it out. So this is made for students who are still learning English, but I'm actually going to customize it as if I was a Spanish teacher. So I can open a new tab and practice it as a student, or I can steal it with this add to room button. So if I want to steal this room that's already made, I'm going to click add to room. I'm going to call it Spanish conversation practice room. I am not ready to share it because right now it's still made to help with English, but I'm going to edit it a little bit. So I'm going to go to manage room and I'm going to open up the first chatbot. Help students understand spoken and written Spanish. I'll leave it at a 5th grade. Actually, let me drop it down to like 1st grade. We're learning like fundamental Spanish. Let me see if any of this. Ooh, reading passages between 5 and 6 sentences. I'm gonna put in Spanish here. So I'm just customizing the chatbot that's already made, and then I'm gonna save it. And that was the first tool. That was the audio visual one. And I know there was another tool for conversation practice. So I'm just gonna change that one to Spanish. I'm gonna drop that way down and change this into Spanish. I can preview it over here if I want to test it out. Okay, so I can test it out. I'm not sure how well this is going to work, but for example, we're going to go ahead and save it. And so now I've taken that language practice template and I've added it to a room so that I was able to steal it, and then I can just customize those tools in here once it's already made. So like the Career Exploration Center one is already created, but you can make a copy of it so that you can kind of edit it specific to maybe your state or certain universities in your area that you can be a little more specific about. Sarah, I hope that answers your question. Yes, you're welcome. And then Pam, if you're seeing that, it probably means that one of your input boxes is not filled in. So here where like tool name has that asterisk, it needs to be filled in versus some of the ones down here do not have that asterisk. So this does not need to be filled in. But if you're seeing that, it probably means that one of those are not filled in. So it wasn't able to load. So double check that part. You're welcome. Are there any more questions about resources, rooms, or tools? Okay, I don't see anything. So before I close out with a survey, I just want to take a minute to thank you for the work y'all are doing. Bringing AI to students is really fun and magical. Just like adults get excited about AI, students get twice as excited. And so thank you for bringing AI to your students and to your staff. I want to point out the resource page, not just on that student side, but also on the top of your homepage. There is this circle with the question mark button that has PD resources for any and all things Magic School. So both the teacher side and the student side, both foundational courses, so much simpler than today, and more advanced courses than today. There are tons of resources in that PD section. If you can, please give us some feedback, both on Magic School, the platform, as well as the presentation, making sure that we meet your needs. And then after you give us some feedback, you are free to go or free to stay and ask any questions. I will stay on here until 3:30. So we still have about 12 minutes that I'll be sitting here if you want to stay on and just play around building rooms and tools. In case you run into any hiccups, I will be here to help. Bob, is there anything else you wanted me to touch on before people go their own ways today?
No, thank you very much. If anybody needs any support or help, I'm also happy to help with anything. If you need help creating a room or introducing it to students, I'm happy to come in and co-teach with you if that makes life a little easier for you. But other than
Yeah.
that, thanks for everybody for attending.
Yeah, thank you guys. And having another adult there is definitely good.